Welcome to Steel and Glory, where we discuss the lively world of historical fencing and everything else related to the sword arts around the globe. Returning champion, Chuck Goodwin. Chuck, say hello.
Hello, thanks for having me again. I appreciate you having me back on your show.
You are quite welcome, sir. Now, we've got some really amazing, great news in the world of heavy metal sports and for Team USA. And Chuck, I'm going to let you spill the beans on what just happened.
Yeah, sure. So I just got back from Spain a couple days ago from the IMCF World Championships, in which I competed on two different events, the men's 5v5 melee and the men's 16v16 melee. And we took gold in both. So we took the first place in both of those for the men, world champions in that division. So that's amazing. I'm absolutely blown away. I'm still processing a lot of it. At the same time, we're overlapping the other major league that the other league had its world championship in Prague, and US did a fantastic job as well there. Team Dominus, which is the US team, they do club teams over there too for that. So they took gold. So US took gold in that. And I believe in the 12v12s, they had the other big event, US took gold in that as well. So, and a lot of individual medals as well. Women took silver for the 5v5 in IMCF in Spain as well. So just a really dominant US performance across the board in the two biggest leagues, two big national world championships. And so I'm very happy, very lucky. I came back with 2 gold medals, which I never thought I would get. And I am super pumped to share and talk about it and share the details with you.
Oh, man, that is so exciting. So exciting. Now, if anyone's ever been paying attention to the sport of Buhurt, it was at the very beginning that USA decided to send a team, and it was third place? Is that what it was?
I believe so. Yeah, it was third place. And actually one of the original founders, Jay Brooks, this was his last international tournament. And fought with us for the 5s and 16s. So we got him 2 golds to end his run. He's won many other medals over the years for different things. This is his last event. As a fighter, he's still going to be a coach and leader and all that, but he's retiring from international at this point because he was in the original group. And so we got a gold medal in the 2 major events at IMCF as far as the team events go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fantastic. Jay, well done. Well deserved. You got the golds, and looking forward to seeing you in a coaching in a more organizational capacity and a coaching capacity again. But of course, he's been instrumental in this sport for the USA throughout the years, and so congrats again.
Thank you.
This is really amazing. Because it wasn't. We haven't done so well since that time, and USA, all the fighters and teams, the organizations, they've just really been honing their skills, really training hard, coming together, and finally here we are. This was our year, and so all the literally the blood, sweat, and tears. Like this is it. So congratulations again, and so tell us about your experience. What was it like?
Yeah, so again, this was my first overseas tournament. I didn't expect to come away as successful as we did. We were able to send a fair amount of fighters over to this. We sent essentially enough competitors. I'm going to speak primarily to the men's side because I help support the women, but I don't help run any of their side of it, and they did fantastic as well. But we sent enough over there to field essentially 2 men's 5s teams, USA 1 and USA 2. They made it to the bronze medal match, but unfortunately did not medal in that. And we sent enough for the 10s and 16s, and you pretty much overlapped all those teams. So I fought on the 5s and the 16s. We had some 10s, and you kind of work together and meld as one big Team USA. So we put aside all of our individual team banner logos and culture and all that. We become one team, one country. That's the phrase you keep hearing the whole time. Wearing our USA tabards. I don't have mine because I actually, at the end of it, I traded my tabard with one of the Spain fighters. fighters, which is part of the tradition that you'll often do. And what I did is I traded with one of the fighters who beat me up the most in the final round, and he did a fantastic job. So we traded tabards. I took his Spain tabard home, so that'll be hanging on my wall as a tapestry, essentially.
Excellent.
Forever, because it was such an amazing event. It's 4 days. It's a 4-day grueling grind. The day starts at 9 a.m. and ends at 10 p.m. essentially.
Wow.
And sometimes you're fighting at all different hours, but like you're there to help the USA, you're supporting, you're going to their other events, you're carrying gear around, you're getting ready for your own time. And it's all just kind of one big community that we're all working in. The event was held we've talked about before. It's at Belmonte Castle in Belmonte, Spain. It's an elevation of about 2,000 feet. So you're basically fighting on top of a mountain. It's very dry. It's 90 degrees every day there. It's arid. I drank more water than I could imagine in those days. But it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous place. The facility is amazing. I think it seats like around 5,000 people in the arena. Over the entire event, I was told that about 40,000 people come to town for the event because it's a huge festival built just around the fighting. There's vendors and other things going on, but it's primarily just this huge event for the region to come and see the World Championship.
That's wonderful. That's really cool. And what was the housing situation like for you guys? Did you go? Yeah, just tell us about it.
Yeah, so I stayed in Belmonte. I stayed within walking distance of the castle, so I would actually walk back and forth each day to my hotel. I stayed in a little villa. It was gorgeous, super nice, wonderful people. We had a little room. Actually had the cool thing is it had a saltwater like grotto cave underneath it that was a heated pool. So I'd go there and you could reserve it for an hour. So I'd sit there and just soak my knees after a day of walking and fighting and everything else. But we had every country had its own fight camp. So you kind of have the castle up on a hill. You go, there's a whole bunch of steps down. There's a flat fairgrounds fighting arena with the stands and all that. A huge fighting arena. Which was really unique because it didn't matter what event you were doing, any melee, it was the same size arena. So it was big enough to do 16 on 16, but if you were fighting in the women's 3-on-3, it was still that big. So you had to adapt your strategy to that giant space. And then you go down this hill, probably, I want to say maybe it was a little under a quarter mile or so, maybe less than that. There's an area they call Trebuchet Park. And it's full of giant siege machines. You have trebuchets and catapults and everything else. And our camps were all set up in there. So every country had its own space. We had our big medieval tents where we keep all our gear. We'd all work there. We'd stay together. We'd repair equipment and all that stuff. So you'd pretty much spend your day there. Then you go home to sleep at wherever your hotel was, then come back. Some people had longer drives. I stayed right in the town because it made sense to me to do that. I was lucky that I got a room early. Yeah, so it was really cool. And the town is gorgeous, a little tiny. Exactly, imagine a little Spanish town to be, these little tiny streets and, wonderful people, great food. Everything's open till midnight, so you can just go grab something after fights. But there were some days you didn't eat for 10 hours because you were just doing stuff and fighting and competing. And then it was find some food, get to bed, get up the next morning. Yeah.
Fantastic. So how many days were the actual fighting?
4 days. It was a 4 days. 4 days. Yep. So it started on Saturday, and then open and ended at and each day was 8 a.m. I believe 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. was the scheduled time. We often ran well past that till 9 something and kind of got out of there around 10 or 11. Yeah. But then and the last day ended at 4:30 with the medal ceremony, and then a celebration where everyone could hang out together and get to know each other and talk and stuff.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. Was there any opening ceremonies or something like that?
There was the first day. So they did do some duels, some first round dueling prior to open ceremonies. They would have smaller lists. They would set up basically in 4 corners. They put extra rails in. So you have 4 different lists. And they did some of that for the preliminary rounds. But then around noon on the first day was opening ceremonies, which was amazing. You start at the top of the castle with all of your different countries lined up with your own tabards, your USA colors, and we processed down these stairs. I mean, it must have felt like 1,000 stairs, but probably 100 and something stairs. And you would walk down all together. And as you entered into the arena, you do a giant loop, and they played your national anthem. which was super inspiring. You get all lined up, and the next country would come in. So I know in the melee men's category, there were around over 20 different countries competing. I don't know the total number of countries that were there overall. But yeah, so it was just awesome. It was an awesome experience. That was really touched to be able to be wearing USA colors, representing the country, and walking in and hearing everyone cheer our name and USA. It was awesome.
Yeah, that is amazing. That's wonderful. I imagine it's a lot like how an Olympian feels when they do their thing.
It felt. I mean, it was a dream for me. It felt like I was at the Olympics. I don't see any difference in my mind. It was, to me, it was the same experience of being there for my country to show what we could do, what we've put together, and the work we've done. And represent everything that everyone has worked on. Because the big thing that came out of this for me was the solidarity of the U.S., the level of improvement and growth we've seen over the last few years, and the way that there are plenty of awesome fighters who couldn't go or didn't go, but I felt like we're representing all of them by putting ourselves as our best foot forward, as competitive as we can be, doing the very best we could, so that we had that opportunity to help represent our country.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Memorable moments. Are there some memorable moments that you could share with us specifically?
Yeah, I'll share a couple of the results moments, and we could talk about the fights itself. So, I mean, the first one, obviously, I think we just talked about was the ceremony, and the final one was the winning the gold medals, right? Like winning the men's fives. That they both 5s and 16s. Obviously, ended the final medal matches the last day. But we did earn our 5s medal earlier, and then we had to do 16s after that. So once I got the gold in 5s, it was like a huge relief. It was like we did it. Like we won that gold. The 16s felt like almost like a bonus. I mean, it was actually super hard and grueling, but at the time I was like, okay, I can just go out and do this. So like that was obviously the pinnacle of it. Two other things personal to me and to you, one to Team USA, but also one to me, is that there's a tradition for the U.S. team. The first 19 who went over, we talked about the original 19, they were knighted originally. And so if you go over with USA now, you will be knighted by one of those knights, and they pass that on. So what happened after the whole thing was over, all of US goes back to their camp. We line up together in twos. We process all the way from our camp up that first hill to the arena and all the way up to the top of the castle, into the castle courtyard. And there, the other knights who have been to other events before line up. There's a big ceremony. You pick who you want to be knighted by. You kneel in front of there's a knighting ceremony, and you're given your white belt. And the white belt is a symbol of a knight who's gone on a quest or crusade. So this to me was a really big deal. The order is called the Order of the Drawn Sword. My understanding is actually a registered order because of the way that was really knighted. So we were knighted at that castle. So that was unbelievable. The thing that I love about that is it didn't matter if you won or lost, right? It wasn't like, only the winning teams, because there's some people who didn't get medals. There's some people who did, who got, silver versus gold, USA over, but every USA fighter gets to experience this and be part of this elite group that has traveled to these world championships and participated. And so for me, that was just an amazing experience. The final piece for me that was in conjunction with this, which I'll share, is in the Knights Hall, particularly the school I train at and the team I'm on, the Executioners. They are one of the original armored combat teams in the country. They've been around since the founding, is my understanding, because Jay Brooks started it as one of the guys who first went over that first group. They have a tradition of earning your hood, where you're given your Executioner's hood. And there's no rules on how you get this. There's no, you have to earn it it's the team decides that you've earned it. And it's a very limited thing in that not everyone who's fought as an executioner will ever get their hood or ever had it, right? I've now been fighting with the team at least 2+ years, never even had a conversation about it. It's not a thing you get to discuss. And as I was going up to process up for the knighting, my captain, Cat Brooks, Jay Brooks' son, took my hat off and said, put this on and put the hood on me. So I got to wear that up for my knighting ceremony, which means I am hooded. It's a dumb analogy. I have not found a better one, so forgive me. But it's kind of like if you watch a mafia movie and how you can be in the mafia, but you can also, and then you can be a made man,
The man found his hood.
That's kind of the difference. It's like, yeah, you can be an executioner, you can be a top fighter, but then like when you're hooded, it's kind of like it's you are now there. Like they recognize that level of commitment, skill, and it's kind of a few people who've had it. So between those three things in a day, I was a mess of emotions. Like winning gold, winning knighted, earning the hood, I was like all over the place. So it was really inspiring and really emotional for me. And kind of the pinnacle of everything I've done, not just with this sport, but like my whole life of coaching and training and doing sports and be able to do something at this level just meant a lot to me.
That's amazing.
So those are my memorable moments.
Yeah. Well, I can see why that would be on the tip of your tongue instead of, because a fight is a fight.
Yeah.
Even though these are special fights, but just the recognition, that is quite something. So, I could tell the pride is just burning inside.
It really is
radiating. I could see it. It's great. So I should call you Sir now, Sir Chuck.
Please don't. Like I love the idea of it, but
yeah. Very cool. Is there a special way to wear the white belt, or is that something that you just kind of?
No, so you'll see some of the knights will now wear them when they compete. Their belt they'll wear with that white belt. I will probably not. I'll probably hang it up and keep mine because I have a belt that works very well with my gear and I like it. And the white one is more of for me an honorary thing, so I'll keep it hung and I'll probably wear it to more formal events or a time that I am like if I'm coaching someone or I'm showing up to be like we'll have pretty soon here in New England in June, we'll have the Rookie Rumble, which is an event where you can't compete unless you've been in armor less than 2 years. So I'll be helping support and coaching for that. I'll probably wear my white belt to something like that as a symbol of like, hey, I'm someone you can come talk to. Right. So that's kind of what that is. But and again, you can now at this point, you can go get another white. You can go get a different belt if you want it, where as long as it's white. That's you're now allowed to do that essentially. But it's just a symbol of, hey, you've done this journey.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remember. You're left-handed, so you're usually on the left rail. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's unique. Let's talk about the fighting a little bit. So again, we have the 5-on-5s and the 16-on-16s was the two I competed in. The other in between was the men's 10-on-10, which we didn't place in. I'm checking my list. No, we did not place in that. In my opinion, while all events are of equal merit to the people competing in it, I think the 5s is considered the premier event across the leagues. It's kind of the perfect mix of like, you're working as a team, but it's not where if you lose one person, you can't win it. But it's not so big that like your individual contributions don't matter every single time, right? So like that's the 5s is kind of, and that's also where every team's putting their best 5 forward in general, right? Across every event and locally, globally, whatever. So that's kind of the premier one. I did play left rail on that as I usually do with my team. As I said, we didn't go as individual teams. We went as Team USA, but the 5s team was made up of just the executioners. We were the USA team for that portion. So I knew my team very well. I knew everyone I was fighting with. I knew my position. So I did that. For the 16s, it was a little bit different because you basically combined between 3 different schools as well as some mercenaries that were with us. And we were put on the right side. So I actually played right rail. On that one. So every time I'd fight, I'd flip rails depending on which event I was doing. And that was a little different in that my shield is now on the rail side. And my hand axe, which I fought with most of the time, is now more of a blocking tool than necessarily a striking tool for a lot of it. Because a lot of big pole arms in the 16-on-16.
Right.
Because you can kind of make a wall of defense and those pole arms can come over the top. So it's a lot more damaging weapons in that when you get that many fighters.
Yeah. Now, when you were on the right rail, did you switch up your lead foot?
Yeah, I did. I would tend to switch up. So normally I fight with my right foot back most of the time. As a lefty, I tend to fight that way. I will switch up the position, but if I'm on the left side, I tend to put my right foot back because I'm using that. I'm almost angled at a 45 because I'm watching more of that axe coming in on my shield side, and I'm striking with that one, or I'm stepping through for a shield punch or a grapple or whatever. When I fought in the 16s, I actually almost rotated fully my back to the rail most of the time. So I would be almost against the rail with my shield out. and I was watching the other field, because the big thing with 16s is if one flank collapses, you can get overrun really fast.
Yeah.
So you need to keep an eye on what the other line is doing, that other side, and seeing, am I in a position that I can take my time right now and work this group, or wow, we've got to make a move now, because if we don't, like, we've only got very little bit of time till that place overrun. We've got to make decisions. So I've spent a lot of time kind of checking that side to help me determine how much action to take on our side. And kind of that back and forth changed my positioning. So I was almost back to the rail a little bit. Not fully, but close. So I could use that shield somewhat, and I could watch the other side of the line more effectively.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Now, I was just thinking about that because, the other way you're bound up.
Yeah.
But
you get bound up.
Yeah. Shield. Well, for me, it's shield foot.
Yeah, shield foot forward with it.
Shield foot forward.
Shield foot forward is the way I was doing it. Yeah. So we had, obviously, the strategy's changed. We have more people. With the 16s, what I tended to do being that far right rail, my biggest concern was pole arms, anything that was really going to hurt me, right? Yeah. So I'm basically looking to block those, but I didn't really pay attention to any small weapon strikes. Like, I would say a little bit out of range to in range, falchions, hand axes. I would just let them kind of hit me and not pay a lot of attention. Yeah. Because what would happen is, as you get hit a few times, people would tend to get frustrated without the reaction, and they would overcommit. Yeah. Right. And once they'd overcommit, I would grab them, drag them back into my backfield. We'd close the wall, and then they would be trapped behind that backfield with, 5 people could hammer on them, or someone could throw them, or whatever. So it's almost like a little riot tactic a little bit on those rails, where I was just looking for opportunities to pull people out of their line and get them into my space. And by doing that, then we could lay weapons on them and use that kind of line formation, as long as my team closed that wall. Yeah. And I would literally grab a guy back, we'd drop him, and I would elbow through my team and go, excuse me, let me through to the front. And I'd get back in the front, and that would do it again. So that was kind of what we ended up doing a lot with the 16s.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, it seemed to be a winning formula.
It worked really, really well. So very, very happy with how that ended up. Yeah.
Very cool. They might ask you to play right rail for a while.
Yeah, I think on that 16 it works out well. I was much more comfortable on the left with the 5s because of the space and needing to keep that shield in. And plus my partner Dustin, him and I work really, really well together. So we were a 2-man team. Because of the size of the list, you had 2 on one side, 2 on the other, and your middle has to pick a place to go. It's not, they can't divide evenly. Mm-hmm. Our middle tended to fade to our right side, so it was more of a 3-on-3 on one side and a 2-on-2. Because Dustin and I work really well together. I don't have to talk to him. He knows what I'm going to do. I know what he's going to do. So like I can tell by his motions when we're going to work. And one thing my team is very comfortable with is when to leave me. So if I'm handling 2 people and I'm surviving, they will ditch and they'll go do something else, and I'm fine in that. That even happened in the 16s at a couple points where the polar, like I would have a few of my guys leave, and I would be holding off 2 or 3 people just trying to survive enough, but that would allow them to go do damage somewhere else, to strike, to throw, whatever, and then come back and support me. Nice. So that's a lot of what I did as a position.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, normally when you're doing 5-on-5s and the pole arms aren't so large,
how
what do you like to do for defense? Are you shield defense, or are you weapon defense, or do you do a mix, or how does that work?
I prefer shield defense. I prefer to fight with a hand axe over a falchion. For me, I find for whatever reason, whenever if my falchion is the same-ish weight, I tend to get a lot more forearm. My forearm tends to tighten up a lot more with the falchion. I think I overgrip it differently for some reason, and I'm more comfortable with a hand axe. I also use my hand axe a lot more effective in grappling. I hook a lot with it, so I can use it as a second hooking tool. And then when it comes to damage, that striking point is much more impactful when I need to use it for me. So I don't like blocking with a hand axe if I can help it, because it'll fold in on you real easily against the bigger weapon. You'll still negate a lot of the force, so you're okay. So the shield is what I prefer to use. And every team's different. Some teams didn't come out with a polearm in 5s. Some teams come out with one guy who's their polearm guy, and you got to watch out for him because he'll lay down damage on you. Oh, yeah. So we had to kind of strategize that differently depending on who we were competing against and what their techniques were. Yeah. I can think of one match. It was the playoff elimination match. If you lost this, you'd be knocked out of the tournament. Because I'll step back. It was just like the World Cup where you have pool play. So you have your pool. You have to win. You have to fight everyone in your pool. If you rank high enough, you will move into playoffs. If you're not, you're eliminated.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the top 2 teams from each pool move forward. And then at that point, there's elimination playoffs. If you don't win, you're out. If you win that, you go into, I think, one more round, which it was 1 or 2 rounds, and eventually it guarantees you into a medal position, but you have to fight out that, right? The German team was our first playoff knockout, and their polearm guy was incredibly dangerous. I'd seen him fight other people and do a lot of damage. So we knew that going in. He was on our side. So the main tactic was to negate him. So instead of my partner Dustin playing back and going for striking, as soon as the opportunity went, he went and closed on that guy and took him out of the fight. Took his weapon out by getting in tight with him, which allowed me to take care of my one German and get the throw very quickly on him, which then we could double team that. And I traded off, took the polearm guy, which allowed Dustin then to strike because he had his 2-handed weapon. He has a big 2-handed sword he was fighting with. So like we just kind of that strategy of like when to switch and how to move. And that's what working together gives you, right? Dustin and I train all the time together, so he knows like when I grab a guy a certain way that like it's his turn to get off that, either strike or get out of there, and we work that kind of pattern together.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's oh man, what it's really nice when you fight enough with someone that could read you and you read them, and then it just kind of works out the way you think it does in your the way you're thinking it's kind of in your head. Because a lot of times it doesn't happen,
and it hasn't. We've taken we've taken a couple years to get here. We struggled as a partnership originally, where he wouldn't step up at the times I expected him to, and give me the defense I needed with his big weapon. Or there were times that I didn't do my job. I didn't understand that I needed to position differently for him, and we've been working together for 2 years. Training, communicating to the point now that we're a team and we fight very well together. But it's progress. It's like any sport. You have to understand each other's language and communication style and movement style, and it becomes intuitive, but you got to put that time in.
Excellent. That's fantastic. Let's see what else. And I'm just thinking what kind of a link that we could put in the show notes. Maybe because you were looking at the different standings, maybe we could put that link if you wouldn't mind getting that to me. We'll put that in the show notes. The live streams are out there. I'll say the link will have. You can see the live streams on as well. I will tell you that the live stream recordings, I'm not highly impressed with the ones I've seen so far. It's a huge field. It's very hard to film, and I know there were a ton of professional videographers in there as well. They had like drones flying. So there's going to be more video that comes out from it, but I don't know when or what it's going to look like. So it's going to take a while.
Yeah, it's going to take time. So I'll send you the link to the official site with all of the rankings and things. So you can link that as well.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. I really appreciate that. What are we missing, Chuck?
Let's talk about some of the highlights from the actual fights moments, right? So I think the big thing that I'm very, very excited to have won gold. I don't want to overstate my own contributions because it's a team thing. So I'm going to talk about a couple of my highlight moments, but it's not but it was a team event. I think the biggest one. So both the men's 5s and the men's 16s, which I fought on, we not only won gold, we never lost a match, and we never lost a round.
Domination.
So dominate. So we never lost a round. We won every match in 2 rounds. It was best of 3.
Wow.
And the 16s were mayhem. So I'm still like, I have to go back and watch those and see what everybody did, because I don't even know what happened on the other side of the field sometimes. But with the 5s, the thing that really stood out to me is that everyone had their hero moments, right? Like everyone had a moment that made a difference. And if we didn't and anyone had a bad round, we wouldn't have been in the same place, right? The cool thing is that both finals matches were against the Spanish team. Again, we're in their home country, right? So Spain made it to the finals. So it was very, very intense competing against the home country. They were phenomenal competitors. They were wonderfully honorable, great guys to fight against. But they fought really hard. And those 2 final matches were definitely the hardest 2 fights of the event for us. And so I think, that was amazing to be able to do that and be in that place, listening to people, cheering for you hear España, everyone cheering for Spain against the U.S. Yeah. We were the evil empire. Some have called us as a joke, the bad guys. Of course we were. I mean, you're fighting against the home country. You should be.
Sure. Yeah.
But they were awesome. A couple highlight moments. We fought early in the pools. Moldova was there, fighters from the country Moldova, which is over Eastern Europe, next to Ukraine, I believe.
Yeah.
And they were great, but they were a newer team. They were, this was their first international tournament, if I understand, as well as a country overall. So they were excited to be there. But we did have a moment where, without getting into the nuance of the rule, I threw a guy, but the ref declared it that I was using a rail to support myself. I don't agree with it, but that's fine. And so they stood the other fighter back up and told him to fight again. I was very upset because I thought I'd make a very great clean throw. And this poor Moldovan kid who just got dumped had to stand back up and face off against me. We'd have me alone on the side of the field, so just him versus me. And I was very irate at the moment. So as he stood up, they said, fight. I just grabbed him, and I don't remember what I yelled at him, but it probably wasn't the nicest thing. I grabbed him, and I heard him squeak a little bit as I took him and just threw him, buried him into the ground again. And I was like, I'm sorry, you got the brunt of me getting mad at the ref, but I had to take it out somewhere. So I was like, the only time I got 2 takedowns on the same person in a fight because they made him fight me twice. So that was funny. Definitely had some really great moments. The Mexican team was there. They were amazing. I loved their whole attitude and approach.
Wow.
But so Team Mexico was there. They were just, there was just such a joyful group. But I did get an opportunity there. One of them got pinned up against a rail. My partner again, Dustin, we actually cross-fielded at this point. He scooped up the guy's legs. He was up on one leg where I was basically throwing axe shots to the inside of his thigh. Until he sat, and he was great. He was happy, but he was limping afterward as he walked away, all bruised up. So those are kind of the highlight striking moments for me. I did get to take one of the Finnish fighters down with strikes, which is nice because a lot of my game is grappling. So when I get to do that and hit people hard enough, even with a hand axe that they want to sit, I feel pretty good about it. Those were kind of my highlight moments in the different matches, and there's things that'll kind of stick with you. The moment I think that I am most proud of as far as a fighter was the very last round of the 16s. As I told you, the strategy for me was pull somebody into my side. That was the only round where my strategy played against me and I got pulled into their side. I had 2 people grab me at the same time and drag me into it. I got pulled in their backfield. I ended up basically getting held by one fighter while 3 polearm fighters fought me. I actually did I took a beating, but I was able to block a lot of it with my axe and move and keep myself so that none of the shots landed super clean. So I was able to stay up. And because of that, I took 4 fighters out of the fight for a while they tried to deal with me. Nice. Giving my team an opportunity to clean up some other stuff and come over and save me. But I was told after, and again, I don't remember it because I was just fighting, that was a deciding factor in our win. Was my ability to take that and survive and keep myself alive. And that's the Spaniard I found the most dangerous of them, and I traded tablets with him afterward as a thank you because he was scary. So there were some scary shots, and I managed to not get hurt. But I definitely got a side covered in bruises from him. So,
wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of the highlight from the fighting piece. I mean, the environment was just wonderful. It was a really world-class experience. To be there. The arena is gorgeous. The fans were, ecstatic, a lot of cheering and chanting at each other, So it was very much, felt very much like a huge sporting event, which is what it was. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Just as you're telling this story, it's so riveting. Just imagining. Yeah. And man, that's super cool. Well, congratulations again.
Thank you.
And we kind of want to make this one short and sweet, but
Sure.
I asked you what we were missing. I just wanted to last call on details. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, so
I know there's a ton to tell.
There's so much, and again, I'm still getting all through my head with it because it feels like it was such an overwhelming experience. I mean, like I said, I traveled over there. I got there Friday afternoon was when I finally got to Belmonte. Event started Saturday, and I flew out Wednesday morning. And after it ended Tuesday, I flew Wednesday morning. So it was a whirlwind experience for me. But I'll never have anything like this again. My first time winning 2 golds. It's really weird to come back to my kids and tell them I'm a world champion. Right.
Yeah,
that's just a weird thing to say. Yeah. And a night, like it's weird to tell people, I'm back at work today. I work for a college university and everyone's asking me about it. They're like, and I'm a world champion. Like that's so weird to say about anything. And a lot of work has gone into this. So I think the thing I want to add with this, and I'll add to your listeners, is like, I've only been doing this 5 years. There were 2, me and another fighter. It was our first time overseas on the 5s team, right? There were multiple people in the 16s team. It was their first time. And like some of them have been at less time than I have, and the opportunity lined up right. And they did their work. And they were able to face some of the best in the world and take home a gold. So if you have interest in the sport, you want to learn more about it, like find me, reach out to me. You can find me on Facebook, Woodchuck Knight. You can find me on YouTube, Woodchuck Knight. And like, I'm happy to help anyone and get them started because I never thought 5 years ago when I started this, I would be here. And I set goals for I'll tell you right out, I was talking to my team and they actually said, are you going to retire? Because the way I was talking, because I was like, I set goals. Goals were make the executioners, make the regional team, like win a national medal, win an international medal, and earn my hood. Like, and knighting wasn't even on that list. Like those were my 4, and I did them all in like a weekend, or 3 of them in a weekend. And I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't know. I don't have goals now. I got to go back and like my next couple of weeks can be said, what's next for me? Like, what do I want to do next to be and to be able to do that within 5 years is unbelievable. And probably would have been quicker potentially if we didn't have the whole COVID thing. So I don't know. So my point being, like, this is a sport you can get into, and if you want to be good at it and you put the work in and you care about it, you can excel quickly, and the avenues are there, right? And again, that's if you want to be on the world stage. You can also be, most of our school didn't go. They were at home watching the live stream and cheering for us. And they're fighting this weekend at an event next Friday. I'll be at a local event, fighting too. So it's really just, if you're into the idea of competing with weapons at a highly aggressive but friendly environment like this, there's nothing like this, right? Like it was so heartwarming to fight team their best they can, and after the round and cheer for each other and talk to each other. And our language barrier was there, but it didn't matter. You seem to speak the same language anyway. And just that idea of working together was unbelievable.
Fantastic.
So I think that's what I'd say. It's like, yeah.
Well, the SOAR community is proud of you, Chuck.
Thank you.
And I know that your local community is too. World champion Chuck Sir Goodwin. Everybody, I just had to get that in there.
I'm going to take it, right? I'm going to take it. So I will. Yeah. I'll share one other anecdotal thing, which I think is funny. So I did run into some people. A few people actually followed my YouTube channel. Met me. I've never met before. One was one of the German fighters, Severin, and he actually ordered the shirt I'm wearing now. Actually, the execution shirt. He ordered one to Germany, and he's paid like €60 to get it. He just wanted to support. I was so blown away by this. But he did come up to me at the event when I was there, and he looked at me up and down. And he goes, you're a big man. He goes, you're a unit. And I will never let that die. And I've been telling my wife forever. I said, I'll be 80 years old. I'll be like a walker. I'm like, remember that I'm a unit. Like, that's definitely staying with me. So like, there's always interactive moments that are wonderful. But, it just felt so good to meet all these people that you've kind of talked to online or heard about, and just be this part of this big global community. So, I'll take it. I'll take the night and the serve for a while. It's great. But like I said, if you want to compete or learn about this or even participate at a local level, find me. I'll find you your local club. I've been talking with 2 new people this week who found me on Facebook, and I'm helping connect them because we only get better as the U.S. as we compete. It's this idea of the wider the funnel, the better we'll be. And that's why we went over and dominated, because the competition in the U.S. has become so good over the last couple of years that we're beating on each other to get better. And then we go off and no one else is doing the work we're doing. So I'm just so proud to be part of that. And so proud to be able to share it with you.
Yeah, wonderful. I you know what? Thank you for taking the time to come on Steel and Glory and let us know. But yeah, as you've noticed, we've changed the name of the podcast.
That's cool. I love it. I love the background, everything. So yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate that a lot. You know, you've definitely made my day today. You know, just saying, hey, can we, you know, when you reached out, and I was glad that you did, because I was going to reach out to you, and you said, hey, you know, do you want to know what happened? And I said, hell yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And that was before I even knew that you guys had scored gold. So, one more thing, we didn't see your medals.
Oh, I have them right here. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, so I've got the 2 gold medals here, if I can see them. For the IMCF, they're kind of very shiny, but they have all the information on the back for the events, for the 5s and the 16s. Yeah, I'll tell you one thing that is a pro tip. If you ever win a medal of any kind, I don't care if it's a sport or whatever, it gets you through security faster at airports. They just seem to be like, medal? Yeah, I just wear it. And then I came through, I was like, world champion. And they go, all right. And they just kind of let you through things. So that definitely, like, they didn't even get my bags. Usually I'll get whenever I travel, my helmets, my carry-on and stuff. They didn't even check it. They were like, yeah, that's great. They let me through. So I was like, awesome. So I found out that you traveling with your medal on gets you places faster. So I might just travel with one every time, whether I win or not. But yeah, so I did. And we do a tradition that when you wear one, I always wear it home. So when I've won at national events, I fly home across the U.S., I'll wear the medal. But this is the first time I got to travel. It's not with the shiny gold at this. And I'm very excited. So this is the pinnacle of it for me. It's what I've been trying to do. My goal was just medal. It wasn't even get gold, but to come up with 2 gold medals is really, it's just awesome.
Oh man, that's so phenomenal. All right. Well, you got your work cut out for you. And as you explore and contemplate what your next set of goals are going to be and all that. And I don't know, maybe this is the beginning of a Michael Phelps type coin collection here.
I hope so. I hope for the U.S. and hoping for me, but for just the U.S. in general. I hope we continue to see this. I think we will. The training and the competition and the camaraderie continue to grow. There's more and more training camps opening up across the country for people to travel to and work at. There's more and more fighting events. We're just going to keep growing. And as we do, like, my goal someday is I hope that I'm not able to compete. And I hope that, like, I'm already 40 years old. I'm not going to be at this forever. I'm waiting for a crop of fighters to come up who are going to say, hey, old man, you can't do this, right? We're so much better, right? Yeah. And it's going to get there. And that's we need that evolution, right? Is that we're going to keep growing. And eventually, what happens is you phase out because people are better than you. And that'll happen to me. And that's the goal, is to keep improving the level of competition. So maybe one day I'm saying, hey, all I can do is coach, because you young kids are killing it.
Wonderful. Oh, man. I'd love to talk with you more. I got to end it there.
You got it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sir Chuck Goodwin. I'm going to do that one more time. And everyone, remember to slay your demons. And we'll catch you on the next one. Take care, everybody.